There's one day that I was going through Walmart. I was just looking at DVDs, seeing the last of physical media. I was just looking at the DVDs and I just came across this 8-in-1 Dwayne Johnson movie collection. And I just thought to myself, why do people like him? Like, there has been multiple reports of him just trying to fuck over studios because he thinks that he's the main character of everything. He's a fucking baby because Black Adam fucking failed, and he wanted Superman to be in the sequel that wasn't even fucking planned. I mean, it was, but then it got canceled. And then he thought that he was a CEO, and then the CEO had to step in and be like, what the fuck are you doing? You're an actor, you're not a fucking director or a CEO. Get the hell out of here. He's also known to just have this weird contract where he cannot lose in a movie, which, I'm sorry, that's just the most babyish shit I've ever heard. You have to legit make writers and actors work around you just because you're a baby and you have this sort of image that you want to keep up that you haven't even been a wrestler for like what, 10 to 15 years? Who gives a shit at this point? Why are you trying to keep up this WE persona when you're not even doing it anymore? I mean, apparently he's been like here and there and sort of making a comeback in the WWE, but at that point, who fucking cares? Now, obviously, this is probably like a self-image problem, which I'm not bashing him for, but you are affecting people around you by making them move around this sort of very strict sort of contract that you force them into. Black Adam didn't fail just because you didn't have full creative control over your own character. It was because the movie was shit. And I'm sorry, but the charm of The Rock just being in movies has just been diminished over the years, honestly. Like, he just plays the same damn character of just being like, ooh, I'm either like, dumb, hard-headed character that's buff, or a friendly buff character that's always like, look at how strong I am. For example, in the remake to Jumanji, he does this thing where he sort of is just like, oh, look at my muscles, look at them. Oh, you should feel them. And then they like all feel his muscles and all that. And it's a scene where I'm just picturing to myself that I feel like he's doing it just to reassure people that he is this buff character, even though he really doesn't need to do anything to warrant that. He's already big and buff as it is. And then also the whole entire thing of just him being in generally bad movies like Red Notice. Do you even know that that's like a movie? Because I forgot it was. I watched it. It was terrible. And it's like one of the most expensive movies of all time. I still don't know where the budget went, except into the actors, clearly. But it definitely didn't go into the movie. Overall, The Rock, both his image and his personality have just been ruined for me personally. And it's really strange just seeing Moana 2 be announced in the middle of it, including the remake as well, which I hate saying the fact that there's a Moana remake when it's not even like 6 years old. But that brings me to my point with the Maui character. Maui was charming because The Rock was charming. We didn't really know about all this until like maybe like a year or two ago, or maybe people start realizing it like me, where he's just a fucking asshole. And I feel like that just destroys Maui's character completely. I sort of just see The Rock playing a character whenever he plays Maui. He brought so much charm to him originally, but now, since all this shit is coming out about him, I just don't see Maui anymore. I just see a very egotistical man-child that is trying to act like he's friendly, but in reality, he's not. I just feel like the sequel to Moana would definitely have a different vibe, knowing that he is a terrible person, but most people will probably just ignore his problematic past and everything and sort of push it to the side as if it didn't happen, or they just don't care because it doesn't affect them. But I'm sorry, but I just don't like The Rock's films because of the previous thing that I brought up, was the fact that I know that Maui isn't going to get hurt because it's The Rock. I can already predict it. He's going to try and make a sacrifice like he did in the first one, and then he's all good in it. It's just not entertaining at all when you know that this actor isn't going to make fucking sacrifices because he's such a bitch to deal with. Now let's move on from the Dwayne Johnson issue with Moana 2 and more on to the actual issues that I would have with Moana 2. Disney, as you all know, already announced that there was a Moana remake that's in the works, like a live action one. And the thing about that is that They're treating like the original Moana needed to be remastered, and it's dated and it needs to be remastered for a live action purpose. What's stopping them from thinking about doing that to the second one? Will they just view the sequel as being rushed, and then eventually they're just gonna be like, oh well, we'll try to do a new and improved version even though it's just gonna make it shittier? Are they acknowledging that they are rushing out their movies so that they want to remake them later? I just get that vibe from Disney at the moment. Why should we as the consumer trust Disney when we know that 5 years down the line they're probably going to remake their fucking films? It makes it look like they're not even confident in what they make anymore. It's like they're constantly self-conscious about the past instead of trying to perfect what they can do in the future and present. They're obsessed with nostalgia, but they don't get the nostalgia. And you can't say that you're nostalgic for Moana because, bitch, it hasn't even been that long since Moana. That's like me saying I have nostalgia for fucking Coco. Yeah, it came out when I was younger, but I wouldn't really say that it's nostalgic. I'm not at that point yet. Sorry, I had to clarify that this is the Moana 2 part of the video. I have an issue where I keep on flip-flopping between the two and it's very confusing, but I just want to clarify it real quick. There's one thing that I think is crucial to these Disney movies, which I think is pretty obvious, the animation. I'm expecting a pretty decent, graphical upgrade, considering that 8 years have gone by. There's some Disney movies that I feel like genuinely, they're going like backwards and then sometimes forwards with their visuals. I just feel like it's a back and forth tug of war of like, oh, do we actually want to make this movie look good? Or do we want to make it just look good enough? You know what I mean? Especially when it comes to sequels. Like, when I see a sequel, I just don't expect, like, the same models being used and all that. I mean, it is expected, but I would like to see, like, more detail and, like, the models and just something to warrant, there being a sequel. Sort of reminds me of Breath of the Wild 2. Yeah, I said that. Shut the fuck up. Eat my dick. It'd be nice just not to get the same visuals again. And another concern that I would have is, crucially, the music. Because, Jesus Christ, Wish and its horrible song about, like, rent or whatever and using modern lingo, that fucking sucks. I heard the song once and it was fucking terrible. Before, it used to be cute when Disney would use like here and there modern lingo, but it was just too much in that. Also, what kid is gonna relate to Rent? That was just fucking stupid. And it just highlights that I don't think Disney gets fucking grammar anymore. Like, the grammar used in that whole entire movie was so fucking baffling. Like, I may fuck up sometimes, but hey, at least I'm not a multi-billion-dollar company. But it does give me a little hope because I do feel like they genuinely have some people at Disney that can actually make good music. Like Encanto, I didn't mind the songs off of there, even though I think that the first one is a little bit too much for me personally. But I did enjoy a lot of the songs. So I'm kind of mixed at my expectations when it comes to the music because it could be the worst thing in the world or it could be actually decent. I don't know. I'm pretty sure Moana 2 would just be good. I don't know. Disney has kind of been sucking ass recently, but maybe there is some hope, but it's definitely going to feel different in comparison to their other movies. And in polar contrast of Moana 2, I have no hope for the live action one. I don't, because there is no creativity there. Disrespectful to the source material, even to think that it deserves a remake. This isn't exclusive to just Moana 2, it's just to remakes in general. It's like you're actively saying that the original was shit, so you have to remake it in your own fucking way. There are such things as tasteful reboots and tasteful remakes, but this obviously isn't. It's just exclusively corporate. Anyway, subscribe if you want to, like if you want to, even comment if you want to. I don't care. You do you, and have a good day.